investigations, about to go into court for my 1:30 trial. Oh, I did forget the citations back at my camper. Husband, you here for the 1:30 trial?
Yep.
So you were one of the officers on the scene where I got thrown over the dude's trunk?
Yep.
Did he get cited as well? Was he cited as well for causing that accident? I'll take your silence as a no. And do you understand that what I operate is a bicycle, not requiring a license or insurance? Can I get your name and badge number, please? Excuse me. Policy number 400-1, subsection A. You must give your name, rank, and payroll number upon request from any member of the public or the department unless you're in an undercover capacity, which you are not. Are you failing to follow your policy? And this is what our tax dollars go for in Racine, Wisconsin. And I even got some case law for the court today. So maybe you'll learn something about fundamental human rights that you swore an oath to uphold and defend. It's now 1:30. So we shall see how long it will take the court to start. See what kind of evidence these people have to say that I am required to give them anything or have anything to exercise a fundamental right that has been upheld time and time again.
Morning, afternoon.
Are we?
You need to wear a mask.
I'm fully unable to wear one
Oh, you
if
are?
I have one on.
We have something actually that you can actually use that's been approved by the CDC.
It's not been approved for my condition. Oh, so it's been approved for people that black out when they have things too close to their face and swing on anyone within reach,
There's a shield.
and those end up too close to my face. I was smothered as a child.
What's too close to your face? What-
Anything that gets too close to my face, I've tried those. Those are too close.
So,
I will not force myself to black out and swing on anyone, especially in open court, for anyone's benefit.
okay.
And that is my human right.
So,
I will not commit
even
a
though
crime
these
knowingly
have
and
been
willingly.
paid by Fauci and the CDC and the World Health
Yes,
Organization
but
as
they-
uses for people who experience blackouts and have problems with asthma.
Yes, for
OCD
some
or
people
CPD.
that do. Like I've stated already, I've tried those. They
Yeah.
don't work.
Okay.
They don't work for
Alright.
everybody.
Now we
There
give
is
it a
no
shot.
one size fits all for everybody.
I'll give it a shot. Okay? That's all we're going to do.
No problem.
All right?
And I have no problem more than social distancing. I tell everybody that.
Good.
Plus, we have all these shields up.
Yeah. Hey, we don't make the rules, right? Health department says.
Yeah,
this,
but
the
you
health
guys do
department-
swear an oath.
The health department has advised and decided. that
And
these are
I'll
what
actually be bringing up some case rulings for the court that even if I was in an automobile, which is quoted in these rulings, it is a fundamental right of a citizen to operate in their personal capacity, their private conveyance.
In regards to the shield,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking.
I'm talking about my case.
Well,
Oh, I've already gotten,
we'll get
I
your-
understand those are all
we'll get your
okay and all
case-
that.
We'll get to your case
Yep.
in due time. This is your table. You're allowed to sit at it.
Okay.
Use any kind of.
I'm just
paper,
pushing my
pens,
pocket in.
and
I
stuff
have
like that.
nothing in my pockets in my
I'm not
pants
moving
except
in
for my
a-
keys.
I'm not moving in a way that would.
Oh no, I just saw you looking. I wanted to reassure you I have
I appreciate
nothing
it.
on me.
So, here you go.
I am in
Do
no
whatever you need to
way.
do to prep. Word of caution. I'll get some tape.
Okay.
That's off. Old tables.
Oh, I can sit on this side.
So bear with me. I'll take that.
Um,
take that and tape it up.
Quick question before we start. Is there any way I can get a copy of, like, the evidence that they have against me? Because by the time I was able to get to the police department, get the the information request, I wouldn't have had time to get the information before court. And I thought maybe since it was here,
Looking into getting the paperwork and
I started finding out exactly what I needed to do maybe a couple weeks ago. And I went down, got the paper, I went to fill it out, and then I looked at the time frame, and I realized it was too short of a time frame for me to for sure get the information. So I figured if it was right here in court, I might be able to get a copy at least of the police report and the citations. Even though technically
You had a
those
copy
don't
of
matter
that?
at this point.
You had a copy of the citation.
Yes, I
on the
did
day
forget
of your
those.
first appearance.
Yes, and I did forget those
You forgot 'em. So
with
you
my
have 'em.
cat. They're in my actual other hoodie that my cat usually rides in. But I knew you guys would probably say something about me coming in with my cat, so I found somewhere to store
It's
them.
not what we would say, it's what the health department wants. So, bear with me.
Yep. I just figured at least if I could get the citations and police report. Because I never even received the police report on this. Well, since everybody here has been polite and professional, just like the last time, I doubt you guys are going to do anything. I'm going to pause this.
Could we have the appearances, please, sir? Your name is,
Richard Kern.
right, Mr. Kern, and for the city,
Assistant City Attorney Robin Zibikowski.
and what is the matter that we are here on today, Ms. Zibikowski?
Judge, we're here for 2 citations, but before we begin, I'm actually going to move to dismiss one of these citations, and that is for operating a motor vehicle without liability insurance. I don't believe we need to go into that today. I don't know that the question was ever asked at scene whether there was insurance. So I am moving to dismiss because I don't believe the city can meet its burden today for that citation. So if there's no objection, I would ask that the court grant that motion.
I assume you would have no objection to that charge?
No.
All right, and also,
Thank you.
On the record, before we start this proceedings, it's my understanding that Mr. Kernan asked for and received now copies of the incident report and also the citations, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
This then is the trial, and my name is Rob Weber, I'm the judge here. This is not a criminal case, and as such, the court cannot appoint an attorney for you. There is no right to a jury trial in municipal court. The trial will begin with the city's case. When the city attorney finishes questioning witnesses, you may cross-examine whatever witnesses they may call.
Okay.
When the city has called its last witness, then the city will rest, and you may then offer evidence, including any witnesses which the city can then cross-examine. Then when you have rested your case, the city could offer rebuttal testimony, and you would have the right to do the same. I will then give each party a chance to summarize their view of the case before I make my decision. If you have any exhibits that you want to use in the trial, you must first show them to the other party. Because this is not a criminal case.
I do have one question about that last part.
Yes, sir.
What if it is all case law that an attorney should know already?
Well,
That is literally used on a daily basis by the courts.
certainly even after the trial, if you request the opportunity to submit case law to me in favor of your decision in this case, I would certainly accept that.
So I can't at least read out the part of the case law that pertains to this case and cite that case law?
How long is this going to take?
Oh, I'm not trying to read out a whole lot. It's just maybe 2 excerpts with the case law.
I'll let you make that as part of your closing argument.
Yes, I fully understand that. I'm reasonable. I'm not trying to take up all day.
Because this is not a criminal case, you should understand that the burden of proof is not beyond a reasonable doubt, but clear, satisfactory, and convincing evidence. Further, as much as there's no right against self-incrimination in a civil trial such as this, you may be called as a witness by the city. You understand all of those things?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about anything I've said so far?
Nope.
All right. To the prosecutor, if you'd like to proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, just.
Oh, and
Oh,
I hesitated, or I forgot to address the first motion to dismiss with no objection from the defendant. I will dismiss that charge.
Thank you.
Judge, I have for both Mr. Kern and you, if this is a copy, I've just copied the statute that is listed, thank you, that's listed on the citation, as well as another statute, because I believe that the citation should be amended, which is allowable by statute. And this amendment would be in Mr. Kern's best interest. The Wisconsin statute, section 343.053A, says no person may operate a motor vehicle, which is not a commercial motor vehicle, upon a highway in the state, whereas subsection 3C is more appropriate here. It says no person may operate a moped or motor bicycle unless a person possesses a valid operator's license, or 2 forms are listed here of a special restricted operator's license. So, if there's no objections from Mr. Kieran, I would move to amend the citation to 3C. And I would note 2 benefits to the defendant here, in that 3A, I believe, is punishable by up to 200, forfeiture of 200, and this one is only a forfeiture of 100. Also, a conviction under 3A, one conviction is civil, but if he has a second offense within 3 years, it's charged criminally. Whereas I do not believe that is the case under 3C. At least under the penalty section, 343.055C, for that violation, it does not say such. So those 2 are benefits to Mr. Kern to proceed under 3C as opposed to 3A.
You understand the difference?
I do, kinda. The problem that I have with that is, one, I know one of the statutes that they're citing, I've looked it up because it was given to me when I was denied my pretrial. And I looked it up. The one for the motor vehicle, which is not commercial motor vehicle, is valid. The other one, when I looked it up, it said that that one was repealed, which my understanding means that's no longer valid law. as well as the fact that if you look at the very bottom, my bike falls under these parameters. So my bike is a low-speed motor-assisted bicycle, which is federally regulated as a bicycle, not a moped or a motor bicycle. On top of that, and this will get the whole case law out the way right away, every citizen, it's been ruled tons of times over the decades, the right to travel on the roadway is not a mere privilege that can be regulated. It is a fundamental right under life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and cannot be regulated by the government unless it interferes with somebody else's rights. And requiring somebody to have a license, registration, insurance, even though they're operating safely, is honestly against all of these case laws, which include Miranda versus Arizona, Chicago Coach versus Chicago, among many others, and that's all I'm quoting on those.
Could I get back to the point then?
Yes.
Do you have any objection to the amendment, which appears to be in your favor, to section 3C as opposed to 3A of 343 of the law?
You can amend it, but even by that and her own definition here, I don't fall under it.
But
So I have no problem with you amending it. It's just, even by her own paperwork, my bike doesn't fall under it.
based upon those statements, then that what will allow the city to amend that charge.
Thank you, Judge. At this time, I'm going to call Officer Philip Davis as the city's first witness, please.
Good afternoon. Please raise your right hand, and do you solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this proceeding shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you, sir. Please.
Officer, would you please state your name for the record?
Officer Phil Davis, badge number 9746.
Thank you. And how are you employed?
I work for the City of Racine Police Department as a patrol officer.
And how long have you been with the Racine Police Department?
Over 2.5 years.
And throughout that 2.5-year tenure, have you always been a patrol officer?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you on duty as a patrol officer on Sunday, August 15th, 2021 at approximately 9:56 p.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
And on that date and at that time, were you dispatched on a call?
Yes, ma'am.
And where were you dispatched to?
I believe Wright Avenue in Thurston.
And why were you dispatched there?
A motor vehicle accident.
And did you respond to that location?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that location within the city of Racine, state of Wisconsin?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you arrived at the scene, can you please briefly describe what you observed?
I saw other officers on scene, a motorized bike, and a man on a gurney getting loaded into an ambulance.
Okay. And you said that you saw a motorized bike. What can you describe what the motorized bike looked like?
It was a pedal bike with a motor on it.
And when you say a motor, how does that motor operate to, or what powers the motor?
I believe it was a gas-powered motor.
And when you say a bicycle, you mean a pedal bicycle, basically?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the motor's attached to it, and that's what propels the bicycle?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did it have a seat for the operator to sit on?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you had to venture a guess, approximately how fast would that bike go?
I had to venture a guess, probably under 30 miles an hour.
Okay. And have you ever seen other motorized bicycles operating around the city?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in your experience seeing those other motorized vehicles, motorized bicycles, I'm sorry, roughly, are they going under 30 miles per hour?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any other reason to believe that this particular motorized bicycle would operate over 30 miles per hour?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And who was on the gurney?
Richard Kearns.
And did you identify Mr. Kern?
Yes, ma'am. I asked him who he was. He gave me his name and spelled it for me.
Okay, and do you see Mr. Kern in this courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you please point to him and describe one article of his clothing?
The gentleman here with the grayish green shirt on.
Thank you, Judge. May the record reflect that Officer Davis has pointed to the defendant.
It was so reflected.
Thank you. And Officer Davis, did you learn what happened at the scene before your arrival?
Before my arrival, it just stated that a motorized bike hit the vehicle. When I got on scene, Mr. Kearns explained to me what happened.
Okay, and how did he explain it to you? What did he say happened?
He stated he was traveling eastbound on Wright Avenue. He saw a vehicle pulling out. The vehicle hesitated. He then sped up, and then the vehicle pulled all the way out. He hit the vehicle as it was pulling out.
And while you were on duty on this particular call, were you equipped with your body camera?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it operating throughout your interactions with Mr. Kern?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you preserve the footage that was on that body cam from that incident?
Yes, ma'am.
And at any point before today, did you watch the footage from your body cam?
Yes, ma'am.
And did that footage accurately reflect the interactions you had with Mr. Kern on August 15th that evening?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you issue any citations to Mr. Kern that stemmed from the August 15th incident?
Yes, I did issue citations at a later date.
Okay. And what were the citations for?
Operating the vehicle without valid license and operating the vehicle without insurance.
Okay, and as you know, we have moved to dismiss the insurance citation, so I'm only going to ask you about the operator citation, but did Mr. Kern have a valid driver's license on August 15th, 2021?
No, ma'am.
And how do you know that?
I asked him if he had one. He stated he did not.
And I'm going to... Mr. Kern, I'm going to give you a copy of this. This is what I'm going to hand to the officer, okay?
Okay.
Officer Davis, Officer Hill's going to show you, Officer Davis, sorry, I should have told you that, that's my fault. Officer Davis, I'm going to show you this document, and I'm going to ask you if you are able, can you please tell me what it is?
This is an NCIC return.
And what does, whose information is on that document?
Richard Earl Kern.
Okay. And what is that does that document reflect, or what does the document reflect?
Document reflects that Mr. Kearns was not issued a Wisconsin driver's license.
Ever?
He's never been issued a Wisconsin
No.
driver's license.
Okay, so, based on him never being issued a license based on that document right there, then we can deduce that he did not have a valid driver's license on August 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Judge, I have written Exhibit A on there. If there's no objection, I would move Exhibit A, the DOT record of Richard E. Kieran, into evidence.
Any objection, Mr. King?
No, because I've never had a license. I'll openly admit it.
Officer Davis, I have no further questions for you. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kern, you may ask the officer any questions relevant to this case.
Now, when she was questioning you about what I had said on scene when you first showed up, what did you say? You said that I had stated that they had paused and I sped up, and then they pulled in front of me to do the U-turn, and that's when I hit them. That's not accurate. I had actually told you clearly that the gentleman had started the U-turn and then hit the brakes blocking my path. I know for a fact I did.
Officer, Judge, Judge, I'm gonna object, it's not a question here, but I would just remind the court that, we're here only on operating without a valid license.
Well,
What happened and the fact that there was a crash, nobody here is being tried for what did or did not happen there. So that crash is not what we're litigating at this point.
And in fact, the point there is that you may have a civil action against the other driver, but that would be the court, and that would be the action where who did what prior to that time.
the issue I have with this,
Sorry?
the issue I have with this is I'm trying to establish his credibility. I see multiple omissions in his report. I also noticed omissions while he was speaking with her, and I have the right to bring those up, point them out to bring up his credibility.
You have the right to testify with regard to what you told him. Not to argue with him about what he said or you said, but if you have a question, you can say, did I not tell you this?
Okay. So, did I not tell you that the gentleman started the U-turn and stopped blocking my path so I could not pass? After I stated that, when I told you he actually did pull out in front of me after I started again, you stated to her that they just pulled out in front of me. They didn't just pull out in front of me. Did I tell you that they pulled out in front of me and then stopped blocking my path? Okay. The next section is about the working light that in your report you said no operating WIS-DOT approved light could be located on the bicycle. Yet there's no mention of the fact that I had multiple bicycle lights that were affixed. Or did you observe the bicycle lights that were affixed to the front of my basket that had smashed into the car?
I observed lights on the bike, but I didn't observe any Wisconsin DOT approved lights on the bike, as stated in my report.
So, is a light that is sold specifically for bicycles Wisconsin DOT approved?
Objection, Judge. The relevance here is, I'm struggling to find it. I understand.
The relevance-
Establish credibility, but for the record.
The relevance is also that they're trying to assert that I wasn't able to be seen. I mean, yes, it doesn't directly affect the license issue, but one, it goes to the credibility, and two, it goes to the fact that I believe this whole thing, because I know for a fact Racine County has never cited a bicyclist for this. No one on what I operate.
I'm gonna object. These are statements, we need to stick.
Well, and I'm trying to speak directly to the judge because you brought something up.
I understand your point. However, this is really more argument than it is
So-
a question. You did ask him a question, and he said he did see lights on the bike, but not what he considered.
And it's common sense that any bicycle light that is sold as a bicycle light
Again,
is Wisconsin DOT approved.
This is, again, something you can argue to me, that is correct. But,
Yes, but he's saying he did not observe any WIS-DOT approved lights. And he is now trying to say that the bicycle lights that are WIS-DOT approved, that he never inspected except for just to take a 2-second glance at, he's trying to say that those are not WISDOT approved when he did not do anything to verify. He only took a 2-second glance, and them saying that there were no witnesses is a lie.
Again, we're getting into the realm of argument.
Okay, then let me ask the question. Did you guys actually question anyone besides me and the one actually operating a motor vehicle?
I did not know. I can't speak to other officers on scene.
Okay. Well, it seems to me like this is just a railroad, so basically I don't know how to proceed because I don't know how to address these issues directly as questions that I need clarification on from him.
You will certainly have the opportunity to testify and explain
I'm not.
from your viewpoint what you did to qualify as a licensed driver or didn't do, or why you didn't need it, or whatever.
I'm trying to show that I gave clear information to him. He says he properly stored his body cam footage. He didn't issue this citation until over a month later, meaning he could have gone back and watched his body cam footage. It goes to his credibility.
Improperly here. These need to be questions directed towards the witness.
Well, when you guys are talking directly to me or
No, but you can ask him, did you do something within that month to verify this, or questions of that sort?
okay, well then, what, if anything, did you do besides looking up NCIC to verify whether I was required to have a license while operating what I'm operating?
Outside of looking up NCIC, I spoke to a traffic investigator about the incident, and he stated as well that in order for you to operate a motorized bike on the road, you have to have a valid driver's license and a required endorsement.
If it goes over these parameters, so you were misinformed.
Objection, Judge, that's a statement. Drawn conclusion.
Okay, so, okay, my question then, based on this, and if I don't know how to proceed with this to have him take a look, but based on this information that I was handed by her, it says that what you were given was partial information. Can I have him take a look at this?
Judge, if I might clarify, Mr. Kern, that is something that I drafted as what I believe
And it's
is the law that is relevant for today and the elements. So that is nothing that the officer had beforehand, and I gave it to the
yes,
court.
but
It's
he
almost as-
spoke to somebody who supposedly had this information and was misinforming him. So I just want to get clarification that at the time, yes, he did take action because he was misinformed, because I do need it on the record so that when I do go to look for it, I can go and find out who is giving out that misinformation, at least to have it corrected. And that's why I'm asking. If he was misinformed after he looks at this, because then that right there would also say that the whole thing should be taken out, because did you do any...
Judge, I'm going to object here on speculation. The officer
Well-
can't testify as to what somebody
So,
gave him.
I was about to ask a question, you cut me off to say I'm speculating.
And really, I'm trying to give you as much leeway as I can.
I understood that I was messing up by saying it the way I was changing it to a question, and I got cut off.
Yeah, no, and I understand you're not a lawyer and you're not represented here, so I'm trying to give you some leeway, but he can't tell you whether or not he was misinformed unless someone else has told him that he was misinformed, someone other than you.
Mr. Kern,
Paperwork provided by a court officer that would show him that he was misinformed, so that he could now make an informed decision on whether he was misinformed or not. I heard earlier I can submit evidence. This was given to me by a court officer. If this can't be trusted, then how can anything she says be trusted?
And I understand the credibility issues, okay? I think
And that's why I'm asking, how can I have this submitted so he can look at it and say, okay, either I was or I was not misinformed before issuing this?
I'm going to let him look at it. And you can ask him a question. But I'll caution you ahead of time that if it's not relevant or if it's out of his answer, beyond his ability,
So
then it may
if
not-
I'm trying to get to the point of if the citation should have been issued to begin with, are you guys going to object and say it's irrelevant? Because I have been trying to do that. I admit it's not in the same way you guys are used to or you like. I'm sorry. I'm not an attorney. I don't know the ins and outs yet of dealing with this because I'm just starting off. This is my first time dealing with a civil citation in court.
Now,
So I'm trying to do my
Show
best.
him the paper and ask him a question. I'll rule on whether or not it's admissible after I hear the objection of any from the
Now, based solely off of the last section that states the requirements that a bicycle has to exceed to become
Judge,
requiring of a license.
Mr. Kern, I'm sorry, if there's an objection, that's why I'm speaking up, because if I let you finish and you make the record and I don't object, then I've waived it. So I'm not trying to interrupt you, I just have to object when I hear it, okay? We don't have any foundation for this. This is a document that I drafted and I gave to the court and the defendant. So this officer doesn't even know what I drafted. This is an excerpt of the state statute, and he wasn't even explained that. This is, I would like to hear a proper foundation to be offering a document to the officer in the first place. And I'm struggling to see where this is going.
To, one, establish whether this should have been issued in the first place. Two, to establish if any officer did any kind of investigation to determine whether my bike actually exceeds those requirements that she brought to court to cite. Because if I don't exceed the requirements that she's citing and bringing into court as her, whatever she's entering it as, she's the one bringing it up. She's the one making it relevant to this case. So me bringing it up and asking about it and asking to be able to question it is relevant.
I'm going to ask this question. Do you believe that you're misinformed as to what the law was, officer?
No, I did not believe I was misinformed.
Thank you, that's all.
That wasn't my only concern over that, though. My other
That is an
concern,
admissible question. Without any other foundation, I'm not going to allow this to go any further in the question.
so I can't ask what kind of investigation was done to determine whether my low-speed motor-assisted bicycle that is federally regulated as a bicycle, what investigation was done to determine whether it needed a license or not?
Was there any other investigation done to the best of your knowledge, officer?
No, sir.
Thank you. That's all. Fair?
Yeah. Because that right there proves my case.
So,
You have to prove it requires it.
now, do you have any other questions for the officer?
At this time, no.
Mr. Costa, do you have anything for
Nothing further, Judge, thank you.
Thank you, officer.
And I do apologize if it seems like I'm trying to be difficult, but I'm not.
You have the right to make a case.
Well, and I mean, I was trying to get it into a question form and get my point across, but I wasn't being allowed to.
All right, hopefully we were able to accommodate you.
Not fully, but
Any other witnesses that we may have?
No, Judge, thank you.
Okay.
Officer Davis? Sorry, you just gotta hang tight just in case there's any rebuttal, okay?
All right.
Sorry, thank you. We'll correct your sheet.
Okay, if you'd like to come up to the stand then, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to call him adversely, or you just want him to testify?
Yeah, he doesn't have any questions.
Okay, go ahead then.
Essentially, like I've stated, I've looked up the law on what I operate. I made sure of that. I've been doing the research for about 8 to 10 years now. What I operate is 49 cc's or under. It goes no faster than 20 miles an hour with a rider of 70 pounds on level ground under just the power of the motor. It can exceed that if you're pedaling. Now, on the scene, I had told this officer and any that were around that I was going between 15 to 20 miles an hour when the accident occurred. I told him that about half a block away, I saw the guy go to pull out, but he stopped. No lights came on, no nothing. He sat there the whole half a block. So I started pedaling again, getting back up to 15, 20 miles an hour. I had 2 lights on the front, 2 solar lights on the back, plus a turn signal laser light on the back. And the front lights were actual bicycle lights bought at a store that were smashed by the accident. When I got less than a car length behind where this gentleman was parked, he gunned it into a U-turn, and then halfway through that U-turn decided to slam on the brakes, blocking the bicycle path, which all of this was told on scene to the officers. I was thrown from my bike. I now have permanent nerve damage from what it seems in my leg, but no doctor's going to see me to actually determine it right now. And from what I understand, I'm the only one that received a citation for something that I'm not even required to have. That's both federally regulated as a bicycle that doesn't require a license, and the fact that numerous case law from both local and federal Supreme Courts have ruled that, especially on what I'm operating, I am not required to have license or any of that. So, and I mean, like I said, even the information that she brought in, I forgot your name, ma'am? Robinson. Even her information. Now, the body weight is a little low, I'll give you that, but it's still close. I'm still around 150. But even her information, my bike falls below that parameter. Well below, considering I never go over 20 miles an hour unless I'm pedaling or going downhill. That's the only time I ever make it over 20. And I make sure that because I have a phone mounted with a speedometer app on it that runs on or offline. So I have a speedometer 24/7 whether I got internet or not. I do everything I can to be safe on the roadway. And I mean, literally in the past 8 to 10 years, I've been trying to get an operating motorized bicycle. I admit I have been hit numerous times, mostly when the bike wasn't running, when it was before it actually got running. This last time, it was running. I literally had nothing to do with this. Only reason I can see why I'm receiving this citation for a citation I should never receive for what I'm operating, which what I'm operating is right outside if you want to take a look after court. It's a 2-stroke motor. Literally, if it was a 4-stroke, I could understand. And you can tell a 2-stroke from 4-stroke. 4-stroke, I can understand. Those definitely go about 40 to 50. What I operate, I don't take it over 20. And when I bought it, I made sure I didn't need a license or any of that from the guy that actually motorized it. Only reason I can think I received these citations over a month after the incident is because I have a YouTube channel where I do post both good and bad encounters with law enforcement and government officials. And I admit, every encounter during this case has and will be posted. Simply because I do like to encounter the good individuals and show them doing the right thing. But we also need to expose the bad so that we can replace them or re-educate them so that we can improve the system. And when I'm facing this, when there's no legal justification for it, they did no proper investigation to even determine if my bike was above these parameters or any parameter that needs a motor. Except for asking one person. That's not an investigation. Now, all I'd ask, well, also on top of all that, the fact that when I went for my pretrial that you sent me for, it's on YouTube already that the city attorney flat out denied me my pretrial, which I know is not legal. All I'm asking from the court is to get rid of this citation. And like I said, you can even come out, check my bike out if you want. I have no problem with it. It falls underneath these parameters and does not require a license. Period. And I mean, even the case laws that I've stated and all the others that uphold the same ruling, those include, and like I stated, automobiles. So even the first law that was cited is unconstitutional per all the case law that I have on my other phone, including the 2 that I cited to you, to the court. Because of the fact that in non-commercial capacity, it is a fundamental right under life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to travel on the roadways. And that's been upheld every time it has gone to the Supreme Court. I'm not trying to push for that to be thrown out. I understand that's a bigger process. I'm just hoping that the court will actually uphold justice and remove this citation for the operating a bicycle without a license, which everyone I talk to about laughs at that. Even looking at the bike, they laugh about it. So that's all I have to say.
Any questions?
Did you put gas in the motor, Mr. Kern?
Gas and oil mix.
Thank you. Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Kern.
I would like to also clarify that the other thing that makes it a low-speed motor-assisted bicycle is the fact that, one, it has 2 operating pedals, the fact that you cannot start from a stopped position and just straight hit the gas and go. You have to pedal it in order to get up to a certain speed before kicking the motor over. Otherwise, it'll turn the motor off and lock up the back tire. So you can't just hit the gas and go from a stop sign or any of that. You have to pedal it to even start the bike. And that is another thing that classifies it as a low-speed motor-assisted bicycle. So,
Thank you, sir.
yes.
Appreciate that. Any further witnesses you wish to call, Mr. Chair?
I would have had some, but I wasn't able to get a hold of them for court today. And that's actually witnesses to the fact that the officers only talked to me and the person in the car that caused the accident. No one else. But since I couldn't get them to come today, all I can do is assert the fact that I've been informed that by numerous people that actually live on that block.
All right, thank you.
Can I step down?
Yes, please. There's nothing further planned either from the city or from the defendant. I'd ask for a short closing statement from first of all from the city.
No rebuttal here, Judge.
No rebuttal.
In that case, could you just summarize your position for the court?
Thank you, Judge. I just want to say that 2 citations were issued here. Mr. Kern stated they were issued a month later, but I would say that that's well within the 2-year statute of limitations. We proceeded with only 1 today. There wasn't any testimony other than from Mr. Kern in regards to the actual accident that occurred, because it really is irrelevant in regards to the citation that was issued. The way I see it, after breaking down this particular statute, this defendant within the city of Racine operated a motorized bicycle without a valid license. The Wisconsin statute section 343.05(3)(c) states that no person may operate a motor bicycle unless that person possesses a valid operator's license or one of 2 forms of a restricted operator's license. I would note that those restricted operator's license by statute are DOT approved. So there's an application and it is tracked by DOT. So the NCIC or the DOT record that was submitted shows that there was no valid license whatsoever issued to Mr. Kieran, which would include any type of restricted operator's license. And that would also be true for August 15th of 2021. So basically, the city has to show clearly, satisfactorily, and convincingly that this defendant did operate this particular bike within the city. So Mr. Kern identified himself. He put himself in the incident. He admitted it to the officer. He even spelled his name for him. So I don't believe that there is any identification issue here. Mr. Kern put himself at the scene. We know that that was at the intersection or near the intersection of Wright and Thurston. So we know that is within the city of Racine. So I believe that there is jurisdiction here, and we have checked the box for venue. Third, he operated a motorized bicycle. Mr. Kieran put himself on the bike in this location, and he told us exactly when he sped up and when he stopped. So he has put himself on the bike, which checks the box for the operation. I know there's a disagreement as to whether or not it's a motorized bike, but the state statute does help us out here. The statute has a definition section in subsection 30 within 340.01 that serves for definitions throughout the traffic code. And a motorized bicycle is a bicycle to which a power unit that is not an integral part of the vehicle has been added. And we have a bicycle, according to the officer, a pedal bicycle where a gas and oil combination is added to the motor to propel the bicycle. There is no limitation within the statute that you have to not be able to pedal it first or that it has to take off solely propelled by the motor. It just says that it has been added to permit the vehicle to travel at a speed of not more than 30 miles per hour. than 30. It doesn't say between 20 and 30, it doesn't say less than 20, it says not more than 30. So based on the officer's testimony and Mr. Kieran's narrative, he basically is stating under the Wisconsin statute that he did operate a motor bicycle. So, and I believe I skipped to, or I mentioned the fourth element first when I said without a valid license. The Exhibit A, which was entered into evidence, shows that there is no valid license that has ever been issued to the defendant. So based on the Wisconsin statute that defines a motorized bicycle and then requires that the operator of such bicycle have a valid license, I believe that all of those elements through the officer as well as Mr. Kern's testimony will show the court that clearly and satisfactorily and convincingly that he did violate statute 34305-3C. And I just wanted to note that there's a Mr. Kern put a lot of emphasis on how fast his bike or lack thereof, or that it doesn't go very fast. If it's under 30, then it is a motorized bicycle. And if it can get over 30, then it would be a motorcycle based on the definition in the statute. And a motorcycle also requires a license. So no matter how fast this bike goes or doesn't go, it would to a bicycle. Thank you.
Sir, you may give me your closing arguments then.
Ooh, that's a lot to unpack. First things first, as I stated earlier in the case, I was informed of both the 340 and the 343. 343 is still on the books, even though it's unconstitutional. And 340 has been repealed. You cannot use a repealed law to justify a classification when it's been repealed as a classification, and the federal classification classifies what I'm operating as a bicycle. Nowhere in all the United States does a regular bicycle, which is what I'm operating as deemed by federal government, nowhere does it require a bicycle to have a license or anything like that. Yes, it requires that I have the turn signals, that I have lights to the front and back. It does require all of that, but it does not require a license or insurance. I have to follow all traffic laws, as in following the traffic signs, turn signals, stuff like that. But it states clearly that because it's regulated as a bicycle, does not require a license. That's federal. On top of that, she wants to quote the whole no more than. This right here is almost identical to the federal ruling that says the exact opposite of this. And I believe that is why this law was repealed. And that is why she was trying to keep me from bringing it up to him. Because she brought it in as just an extra bit of information that she might scare me with into taking whatever from this case. I'm sorry, I'm not going to back down on my rights, and I'm not going to back down when the government or government officials, not you necessarily, are coming after me for something they shouldn't be. And honestly, as a judge, I'd hope that you would see this and understand that she even admitted this wasn't a law when I was trying to bring it to the officer, meaning she knows that the 340 is repealed. I've looked up numerous times over the years bicycle laws for gas-powered bicycles in Wisconsin. Every single time it comes up, there are no laws on the book currently because this one was repealed. It can't be used to convict me or to charge me with anything at all. And if I'm operating what's not federally regulated as a vehicle, moped, motorcycle, I'm not required to have a license. So, in closing, I'd hope that you'd see the facts for what they are, on top of the fact that citizens do have the fundamental right that's been upheld by the Supreme Court to travel on the roadways. Only if they're not operating for commerce. Commerce, yes. License, registration, insurance is required because it's undue use on the roadway, not normal wear and tear.
So, I just want to make sure I understand your arguments. And one is that Wisconsin statute, section 34305, is unconstitutional.
Yes.
And number two.
Well, the way it's written is.
Okay, and number two then, that Wisconsin statute, section 34001, has been repealed.
That's all my research points to that, yes. And I've tried looking it up different times. I just looked it up yesterday.
Does it cost you any response?
Judge, all I can say is that I drafted this yesterday, and I copy and pasted the statutes, from the Wisconsin statutes online. But I want to emphasize, this is my version of what I came in today to prove. I know that only the court can direct as to what the law is. This is my excerpts to try to hone, the trial, basically a roadmap. But the only thing I can state here is that these are excerpts from the statute that I copied yesterday.
And, Your Honor, so I can clarify that. When I've done my research on my own before I was given this statute, I never found this law. The only way I found this law was because I was given the statute at City Hall. So if you know the statute, you can look it up easy. If you don't and you're just looking for general laws in Wisconsin, it's not active. So yes, she can definitely look it up and say, yeah, I found this law. It's not admissible in court if it's not on the books, because it was repealed for a reason.
Well, that is something that I am personally then going to have to look up.
Okay.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my ruling at a later time in writing, and after I've had an opportunity to do my own research on it. And I will then, of course, send a copy to you with instructions, should I decide in your favor, then the case will be dismissed, obviously.
And that's all I ask for.
Then you have, of course, the right to appeal that, and along with the decision, if I were to decide against you, I would include written materials explaining what your rights are in terms of an appeal, both if you wanted a new trial, or if you wanted, that's called a de novo trial, or if you wanted just a trial on the record that we have here from this court.
Okay.
Okay?
And you'd actually, if you guys do make it that easy for me, you'd be the first court to make an appeal process easy. At least here in Racine.
We will try to do that. Thank you.
And I'm hoping it doesn't come to that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. You too. So, we're going to gather up our paperwork here that we have now collected. Oh, dang it.